Hey, I'm Tim Cureton, owner and founder of Rise Up Coffee. Welcome to Rise Up University. We're thrilled that you're here. So I was going to talk about the origin story of Rise Up Coffee. I came to coffee by way of the Peace Corps. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in the Pacific and sort of discovered coffee that way. I had never really spent much time thinking about coffee. Coffee was always sort of in my realm to some extent. My parents consumed it from time to time. I may have had some in college to stay awake and stuff, but I never really thought about it until seeing it as an agricultural product while I was in the Peace Corps. And it probably wasn't until later that I sort of put together the fact that it was this global connector that was grown in these beautiful places by these beautiful people and beautiful cultures. As I was making my way back from the Peace Corps, I stopped off in Australia. I stopped off in a lot of places, but I stopped off in Australia. And I met these guys, and I didn't know how to describe them at the time. I had never really met anyone like this before. I would come to understand that I was hanging with a bunch of hipsters for the very first time. And these guys were so far ahead of, well, seemingly everything, but on the coffee side of things, they had their own espresso machine. They were talking about organic coffee. And having just had this origin experience in the Pacific, it's sort of all connected. And when I got back, that interest became a passion and then later an obsession that led to the start of Rise Up Coffee. And you know, when I got back, I had to figure out a way to make a living. I ended up working at a summer camp, an outdoor education center for kids. I had traveled out west and seen these coffee drive-thrus, little coffee huts, all over the place, on every street corner in Washington State, Montana, California. And I thought, man, drive-through coffee would really work well back here. The whole idea was to basically carve out some work around our lives and start this little coffee shop. I was actually able to get a business equipment loan before I ever had a business, which I'm not sure how I pulled that off, except for the fact that the bank manager sent her kids to that camp that I was running. So she trusted me and loaned me 19,000 American dollars. And I used that money to purchase this concession trailer, like a food truck before food trucks were a thing. And I logoed it up to say, serving a sip of the world and drink organic coffee, but I needed a place to put it. That camp connection comes in handy again because one of our former campers, lifelong camp devotee, sent his kids to that camp and owned a spot in St. Michael's. So I wrote him intentionally on the camp letterhead, and I said, "Dear Glenn," and I wrote this whole letter to him. And he says he got it, and he went to throw it away 3 times, and it wouldn't leave his hand. We meet in Higgins Crab House in one of the booths there, and I sing my song about, like, you know, hey, I'll rent your parking lot and this little coffee hut. And he listens and he says, "Tim, I'm going to let you do it, but there's no way in hell that the county's going to let you do it." And he was pretty much right, as they served us with a cease and desist letter a week before we were to open. Thankfully, they showed some mercy and gave me a temporary permit to open, and that was the foothold that we needed to connect with our community. And over the course of that next year, we wrote our own legislation to define what it is to be a roadside vendor in Talbot County. So basically, 1 out of every $4 that we made that first year went to our attorneys to write this piece of legislation. You know, when I think about the very first day of our existence, which was March 15th of 2005, basically I couldn't sleep. You know, I came in at like 3 o'clock in the morning to open at 6. And I had practiced everything. I had practiced, and studied, and I knew about half, I guess, going into it. And the one thing I hadn't done actually was brewed a cup of coffee, because I thought that was like, super straightforward. Anybody could do that. 15 minutes ahead of time, I go to brew that cup of coffee or brew that first pot, and I've got an Exxon Valdez situation in the little coffee hut there. It was like coffee was everywhere, spilling everywhere. And I was sweating like I'm sweating right now, as we actually had a little bit of a line somehow waiting for us to open. The way that Rise Up connected, it was obvious that it was bigger than just one location. Our second location down in Salisbury, another drive-through, had been vacant for 8 months, and when I saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is absolutely perfect. So we have a history of taking these spaces and giving them a sympathetic refurb and turning them around. I think about that Salisbury location, the Riverside location, and over the course of the summer of 2007, we were doing that build out. And I'll never forget, our neighbor next door, this crazy dentist, came over and he wanted to say hello and goodbye at the same time because nobody ever made it at that location. And he said, "What, you're not selling any hot dogs or nothing?" And he said, "Well, I'll say hello and goodbye right now because nobody ever makes it here." And I've never forgotten that. And it's things like that. And each of our locations sort of has the same history. In fact, the one right over here on Dover Road, our roastery, I'll never forget people asking me, "Tim, why here?" And I said, because it's perfect. It's going to be perfect. And it's turned out to be exactly that. So what was a blighted part of the community is now thriving. And what changed? All we did was add an organic coffee roastery, and the way that people have connected with Rise Up has made the rest happen. So when we say grown by friends, roasted by friends, enjoyed by friends, this is what we mean. Rise Up is deeply, deeply, deeply important to those who grow our coffee. These bags that you see around you don't just represent countries of origin or bags of coffee. They represent farmers, families, villages, schools. This is the way it's always gone. There's a deeper connection to Rise Up than just a cup of coffee. When you've got this kind of meaning on both sides, and we're the ones in the middle, it's our responsibility, and this is what brings you here today. It's our responsibility to not mess this up. And what's beautiful here is that you have been hired for a reason, that you are now a part of this. For us, our baristas are the face of Rise Up Coffee. You guys are point forward in the field, working with our coffee, working with our customers, and it is amazing sort of the role that you play with our customers and the significance that you have in their daily lives. This is what it's all about. And I hear from our customers all the time, where do you find these people? Well, turns out we find 98% of our people through the front door. So you guys were customers first. You guys connected with Rise Up on a customer level, and thankfully that moved the needle for you enough for you to chuck in your application at Rise Up. We basically hire the personality and train the skill. So you are hired for who you are as a person. We will teach and train you the rest. And at first it's gonna feel like you're a pig on ice. You can't get your feet and you're slipping and sliding all over the place. But as you see the folks around you and the sort of barista dance that they're doing, soon enough you will catch on and you'll be doing that dance as well. Here, Rise Up University, with a company now our size and growing, I think the most important thing that we've done in years is to start the Rise Up University, to have you here today for this training, to show you the Rise Up way of doing things. Again, we hire the personality. You are hired for a reason. You become one of these legendary folks that have been with Rise Up since the beginning. and we train the rest. And that's why you're here today, because remembering that grown by friends, roasted by friends, enjoyed by friends, deeply, deeply important on this side, deeply, deeply important on this side. Hopefully you find it the same here, and it is our job to do right by both sides of this. So we want to make our coffee growers proud in the way that we roast and serve their coffee, and we certainly want to give our customers the experience on their side of things, what they've come to know of Rise Up. I mean, we're talking about so many years of history here, and so much goodwill and so much momentum. But to me, it feels like we're just getting started. So you being here, you being a part of this team, you being the folks that make it happen with our customers on a daily basis, it's so amazing. And all I can hope is that you find the level of fulfillment that I have found, that so many before you have found, that so many surrounding you find on a given day, and we're thrilled that you're here.